Hello, ghoulies, and welcome to my corner of the underworld. We are here today again, and we will be doing more crazy makeup styles. If you want to watch the video on how I did this unholy mug, it will be listed below. If you do check it out, I would love that. But until further ado, let's get back to the podcast. Welcome to my channel. If you love your true crime dark, a little messy, and proudly queer, you're in the right place. And while you're here, be a dear. Hit that like and subscribe button and share it with someone who also lives for the drama. This is LGBT. Let's get back to talking. I'm Nico. Around here, we tell stories about queer lives. The ones that ended in headlines, or never made it that far. Some were victims, some were villains. Most were complicated. So, pour a drink, take a breath. Let's get back to talking. Tonight's episode is about a man who committed some of the most prolonged and sadistic crimes ever documented in American serial killer history. He was known as the Kansas City Butcher. His name was Robert Berdella, and for 3 years in the 1980s, men would walk into his house and never walk out again. Robert Berdella was born January 31st, 1949, in Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio. His childhood wasn't particularly glamorous. He was described as awkward, socially isolated, and physically frail. Sounds familiar. He had severe vision problems, and wore thick glasses. Definitely not me. Kids bullied him constantly. His father was reportedly strict and emotionally distant, and when Berdella was just 16 years old, his father suddenly died of a heart attack. Friends later said that moment changed him. He withdrew further. Berdella eventually moved to Missouri to attend the Kansas City Art Institute in the late 1960s. He studied art. He loved antiques. He was fascinated with oddities, strange objects, occult imagery, bizarre sculptures. But he didn't stay long. He dropped out of college and drifted into the counterculture scene of Kansas City. By the early 1970s, he opened a shop called Bob's Bazaar, a store selling antiques, occult objects, strange art, and unusual collectibles. Locals described him as eccentric, but friendly. He was active in neighborhood watch. He ran a small business. He had friends. From the outside, he looked like a quirky shop owner, not a sadistic serial killer. Behind closed doors, Berdella's mind was spiraling somewhere much darker. He later admitted that many of his fantasies were inspired by the novel and film The Collector. In that story, a man kidnaps a woman and keeps her imprisoned. Berdella became obsessed with the idea, but his version would be far worse. He began developing fantasies about total control over another human being, not just killing them, but breaking them. Psychological control, physical torture, absolute domination, and eventually, he would act on those fantasies. In Kansas City, Berdella owned a modest house on Charlotte Street. Inside the home looked fairly normal, but the upstairs bedroom would become a torture chamber. Between 1984 and 1987, Berdella abducted at least 6 young men. Most of them were vulnerable: drifters, sex workers, young men struggling with housing, people who might disappear without immediate attention. He would lure them in with offers of alcohol, drugs, money, or sex. Once they were inside the house, they were drugged, restrained, and then the nightmare would begin. What makes the Berdella case particularly horrifying is the level of documentation. Because he kept records, detailed ones at that, police later discovered Polaroid photographs and a meticulous torture diary. It read like a lab notebook. Berdella treated his victims like experiments. He tortured them for days, sometimes weeks. Victims were tied to the bed, repeatedly assaulted, deprived of food, subjected to electric shocks, injected with chemicals, and brutally beaten. At times, he injected substances like drain cleaner into their bodies. Ugh. He even attempted to blind one victim by damaging his eyes, reportedly just to see what would happen. For Berdella, the suffering was the point. Control was the goal. Some victims were held captive for up to 6 weeks. Eventually, when they were too injured to survive, he killed them, usually by suffocation or overdose. Authorities eventually identified 6 victims. They were 18-year-old Robert Sheldon, 20-year-old Jerry Howell, 20-year-old Mark Wallace, 20-year-old James Ferris, 21-year-old Todd Stoops, and 20-year-old Larry Pearson. Many were reported missing, but because of their lifestyles or unstable housing situations, the disappearances weren't always immediately connected. And Berdella was careful. After killing them, he dismembered their bodies. He placed the remains in garbage bags and then left them for weekly trash pickup. Most of the victims' bodies were never recovered. They ended up in landfills, unfortunately, most likely gone forever. After years of murder, Berdella's downfall came from one man, a victim who refused to die. In April 1988, Berdella kidnapped a man named Christopher Bryson. Bryson endured days of torture, but when Berdella left for work one day, Bryson managed to free himself. He ran naked from the house and fled to a neighbor's home. Police were called. When officers entered Berdella's house, they found something horrifying. Polaroid photographs of bound victims, detailed torture logs, restraints, and human remains. The nightmare was finally exposed. Berdella was arrested on April 2nd, 1988. Initially, police thought they were dealing with one attempted murder, but the investigation quickly uncovered something much bigger. Dental records eventually identified skulls found at the property as belonging to some of the missing men. Faced with overwhelming evidence, Berdella confessed. In 1988, he pled guilty to 2 counts of first-degree murder and 4 counts of second-degree murder. He received life in prison without parole. Even after conviction, Berdella showed little remorse. He once described the murders as some of my darkest fantasies becoming my reality. He remained incarcerated at the Missouri State Penitentiary, but justice would be short-lived. On October 8th, 1992, Robert died in prison from a heart attack. He was 43 years old, and even now, the full extent of his crimes may never be known. Investigators suspect there may have been additional victims, but without bodies, some answers are lost forever. Cases like this force us to confront something uncomfortable, because monsters don't always look like monsters. Sometimes they run antique shops. Sometimes they host neighborhood watch meetings. Sometimes they smile, wave, and sell you a weird sculpture. And sometimes they're keeping people chained in a bedroom upstairs. The story of Robert Berdella isn't just about violence. It's about invisibility, about how easy it is for vulnerable people to disappear, and how long it can take before anyone realizes they're gone. You've been listening to LGBT. Let's get back to talking. I'm Nico, your host, your narrator, your slightly too interested gay friend with a microphone. Every week, we dig into queer lives brushed out of the margins. The victims, the villains, and the beautifully complicated ones who lived in between. If you liked tonight's story, go ahead and follow, subscribe, and leave a comment. Or just whisper sweet nothings into the void. I hear everything. Until next time, pour a drink, take a breath. Let's get back to talking. Thank you for stopping in and watching my video. It means oh so much to me in the underworld whenever you guys stop by. If there is anyone you guys would like me to cover, or anything you would like me to cover, please comment below. Until then, have a lovely day, ghoulies.